Hello, my name is Hunter, the movie reviewing pony, because when it comes to cinema, humans cannot be trusted. Star Wars! Never has there been a universe so successful, so profitable, so likable as Star Wars. Okay, maybe I should take back the likableness there, cause this exists. But then again, this exists. But then again, this exists. Although on the other hand, this exists. But then again, in the darker side of the galaxy, this exists. And you know what? Episode 1 was where it all started going downhill. The CGI was overkill, and the classic X-Wings were more realistic than the Naboo fighters, and the little kid that got to play Anakin Skywalker was disastrous. Which, by the way, he's in jail now. Jar Jar Binks was just stupid. Darth Maul, he was awesome, and then he dies pathetically. But then again, this also exists. Okay, I can't make up my mind about you, Star Wars. The Reign of Terror finally ended in 2005 with Episode 3. Now, I'll admit, this one was the least bad of the prequels, but it was still pretty bad. After that, George Lucas said he was done, and you know what? We believed him. He had talked about making another trilogy, but decided not to do it. And then, something crazy happened. That empire that's founded on top of a cartoon mouse came in and bought LucasArts for $4.05 billion. That's a lot of money. And hey, if there's any company out there that shares George Lucas's obsession with re-releasing things, yeah, it's Disney. But then came the part where they started pissing the fans off. The Star Wars Expanded Universe? Yeah, that's not canon anymore. Every book is now non-canon. Your favorite books? Yep, nope, that didn't happen anymore. Oh yeah, Dark Forces 2? No, didn't happen. That last level of Rogue Squadron 1? Yeah, no, that didn't happen anymore. Oh, but the rest of it did. You pissed off so many people so that you could make this Star Wars Episode 7. Oh yeah, and I'll be that guy. I'll get on your case for it. You got J.J. Abrams to direct it. No, don't. He'll put lens flares everywhere. Oh yeah, and I can piss off a number of people just with this image alone. What is this thing? What were they thinking when they designed this lightsaber? This is even more pointless than Count Dooku's fencing lightsaber. Oh, and while I was looking for that image there, I stumbled across the Lego figurine. Who designed his face? He looks like he's trying to be Worf from Star Trek. Yeah, wrong star outlet, Count Dooku. There's a lot of those. There's Star Wars, Star Trek, StarCraft, Starbound. But regardless of everyone's opinion of the matter, Disney was not going to go back on a $4 billion purchase. I mean, for God's sake, they already got toys lining the shelves. And to be fair, Disney hasn't killed Marvel yet. In fact, they're sort of letting Marvel just do their own thing. It's just too bad we won't be seeing any Eclipse-class Star Destroyers anytime soon. Oh, it's that one, right there in the middle. But I have many an email of people requesting us to review the film. So, Star Wars The Force Awakens. Good or bad? Star Wars Episode 7. Ever since starting this career in film reviews, it's been my dream to review a new Star Wars film. So it's like my entire film review career has been leading up to this. Trailers for this film started around a half-decent time, actually, even though we heard about the movie back in 2012, which implies a decently long 3-year production period. And upon release, this film exploded. The highest grossing film of 2015, the highest grossing Disney film in general, the highest grossing film in North America, and the third highest grossing film of all time. In one of my previous reviews, I said that was The Avengers, but that was beaten a long time ago by Jurassic World. On top of this movie is now nominated for 6 Academy Awards. 6! Best Original Score, Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, Best Film Editing, and Best Visual Effects. Oddly enough, it's not up for Best Picture, but I was gonna give that to Mad Max or The Martian anyway. The casting for this looked pretty interesting, too. They got some of the old actors to come back for this film, as well as some new people. Yeah, I know, they got Harrison Ford to come back after 30 years from filming the first movies. And not to mention, they had the original writers for this from the original trilogy. And J.J. Abrams, he's done some good stuff. Mission Impossible 3, the new Star Treks, even Super 8, one of my all-time favorite movies. This movie had a lot going for it. So you're probably asking yourselves, well, is it good? Well, yeah. But let's be honest, it's pretty difficult to screw up Star Wars. Though, then again, George Lucas did it like 3 times. But still, I can see why this thing has grossed $1.8 billion. Way to put the $200 million budget to use. But even then, this film was probably gonna make a profit from all the die-hard Star Wars fans out there. But Disney decided to actually put effort into this, and I gotta give them credit for that. You didn't just throw something out there like you did with Cinderella 2. Also, I really hate to think of the alternative to this.
Like a star, you can't stop my shine. I'm loving Cloud City, my head's in the sky. I'm solo, I'm hunting solo.
There's a lot fewer nightmares with this one, and quite frankly, it's kind of a relief that this is out of George Lucas's hands because he seemed to be running it into the ground. And I think even the most hardcore Star Wars fan will agree with me on that. But what I really gotta give them credit for this movie for is that they're going back to the classic way Star Wars was actually shot. None of this CG bullshit that George Lucas seemed to be obsessed with. Even BB-8, the little sphere robot, he's not CGI or anything. It's a real robot. They actually built the damn thing and got it to actually do stuff, and everything else that they couldn't do for the advanced stuff was just a puppet.
And there were a lot of discussions about how having a CG BB-8 would be so much easier for shooting, but we also knew it would be better for the film, for the actors, for the sets, for the look of it, if it were performed. And Neil Scanlon and his unbelievable team you saw earlier in the picture built and puppeteered BB-8 in the movie.
It's just screaming out, we are so sorry for George Lucas's behavior. Now that isn't to say that they don't use a ton of CGI in this movie, because, well, let's face it, there's just a ton of stuff that you need the CGI for. And I'll say this, it's amazing what 10 years worth of advancements in that field can do for a series. Because the CGI and visual effects in this movie are fantastic. If George Lucas were to ever release a digital deluxe version of the prequels, it would probably be on par with this. Okay, before you go nuts, I do not hate George Lucas, but he made a lot of mistakes with the franchise. Some of them more forgivable than others. This not being one of them. But here's a good question. What can't I look past in this movie? Well, okay, I'm gonna go into spoiler territory here, so you might want to click off now. The setup to this movie is nearly identical to Episode 4. Oh, we need to find the thing, but the thing is in a droid. Where's the droid? On a desert planet. Oh, and we captured the original master of said droids, and we're now holding him in blank. But it's okay, blank comes in to rescue blank, and then they escape in blank. But from there, it goes off on its own path, so I can forgive it. But one thing that bugs the ever-living hell out of me is that they've basically turned the Empire into space Nazis. No, I'm not even kidding, Some of the shots in this just scream space Nazis. They get a little bit too obvious with it at some point, and it drives me nuts. Though then again, the Empire have always kind of been space Nazis, so I can't knock it too heavily. But one thing I can't forgive with this movie is that a lot of the things that happened in this movie happened by pure coincidence. Oh, conveniently the Millennium Falcon happens to be sitting there, so let's conveniently get in there and then conveniently meet up with Han Solo. Conveniently. He conveniently happens to know someone who will lead us to where the droid needs to go conveniently. Oh, how convenient that the main character happens to know how to conveniently take down the new Death Star. Convenience. It's really convenient how all of the conveniently aligned stars are conveniently aligned in our favor. Convenience. I'll say it. I'll say it. It's a mess. It turns into a great big mess. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Why'd we put that line in the script? There's also some errors in continuity and whatnot that I'd like to get into in this movie. Luke's lightsaber, for example. That was lost in episode 5, yet here it is all of the sudden. Perfectly fine. None the worse for wear over the past 30 years. Unless this character happened to find it somewhere, in which case, yeah, okay, I'll believe that. Another thing is that this is just set up to have another movie right after this one. With the previous Star Wars movies, there was at least a lack of a lead-in to the next film with most of the movies. Episode 1, 2, 4, and 5 didn't have those. When a movie leads into the next movie at the end, it just feels wrong. Like I only got half of the experience out of it. Oh yeah, and I'll say it. Why'd we have to come up with Jakku? I'm sorry, it just bothers me. Why do we need another desert planet in this universe? We already have Tatooine, and it's a whole planet, guys. You can do a lot with it. I'm sorry, that's not really anything wrong with the movie. It's just, it drives me nuts. And I'm gonna nitpick a little bit. Do we need another Death Star? Now, I get it, this isn't technically a Death Star, it's a bit more powerful, but it's the same basic concept. Darth Vader already told us that the ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force, so why don't we get creative and have the Force do something for a change? This is the third anti-planet laser I've seen. Technically the fourth if you count the Eclipse-class Star Destroyer. But of course that's now non-canon. And there also might have been some stuff before the first 3 movies, but nothing off the top of my head. Point is, why don't we have something that doesn't destroy a planet for once, maybe? Can we do that, maybe? I'm sorry, it's just driving me a little bit crazy. Also, I really don't want to say it. In fact, I don't think I should. Forget it. Alright, bear with me a little bit. I'm gonna get nitpicky. Earlier I showed this image. Yeah, I'm on the side that's against the side guards. This is the absolute worst design for a lightsaber that I have ever seen. I even hold Darth Maul's lightsaber above this one. Darth Maul. This is just stupid. And when it was first revealed, I saw everywhere people were upset about this lightsaber. It was either you were with it, or you were against it. It was crazy. Alright, one more, because this one's actually bothering me too. The villain in this movie, the big masked guy that we see in all the advertisements. Okay, you know, this guy. He takes his mask off in this movie. That's all well and fine, but then he puts the mask back on and takes it off again later in the movie, which kind of ruins all of the tension and the mystery that was behind the face from the first time. Which begs the question, was it necessary to take it off the first time? But even then, I kind of like this villain. Yeah, he's alright. He's the guy from Law and Order, but yeah, he's alright. They didn't pick a person whose face is too sinister either. It makes it feel like there's a bit of an innocent face back there. So yeah, this guy kind of works. That's a lot of mistakes though, guys. And you know what? They all bring this movie down. But is it terrible? No, not by a long shot. So, what's my final verdict on this movie? 8.5. This is an improvement. This is a significant improvement over what we were getting with the prequel movies. The characters are great, the effects are great, the story's pretty good, and you brought back a lot of the original cast to keep it grounded. They've already got episodes 8 and 9 lined up, and I'll say this, I'm genuinely interested to see where they go with this. And if they keep doing what they're doing here, they might end up being pretty good films. And no Gungans. I gotta give this movie credit for that. There were no Gungans in this movie. My advice, see this movie as soon as you can. You can bring expectations into this one, unlike with Star Wars Episodes 1, 2, and 3. My name is Hunter, and may the Force be with you.
There once was a guy who created a machine, a thing that would take people to and from some other world. And when he arrived, he had run into a pony who smiled and decided that they both should go see a film. When that movie sucked, they decided to join forces, and then they created a new show called Hunter Reviews.
If George George Lurker